Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing another how-to video and we're going to be talking about the shed I built. We're going to be talking about what I did, how I did it, and what's coming up next. Now before we get too into this, I do want to point it out that this is not a complete shed from the ground up all in this video. What I did was when I moved to where I live now, I needed a shed real bad so I could put some stuff in it because I didn't have a shed. So I built a 12 by 12 shed just big enough to put all the stuff that I had in there at the time, and just built it cheap enough so I could go ahead and get it done. Alright, so I had that 12 by 12. Then I needed a bigger shed, so what I did is I built an addition on the shed and cut a hole out in the center wall for a door or a walk-through opening. So it's going to be how I built the addition, attached it to the shed, and all the stuff that I'm doing, turning this into one big shed. We're going to go over all of that and how I did it. And after we get done with all of that, I'm going to be talking about what else is to come, because the shed at this point of filming this isn't completely done. I've got some other videos I'm doing, separate videos I'm doing on stuff that I'm doing on the shed. So the shed is not completely done. We're going to talk about the stuff that is done. Then we're going to talk about stuff that I still have yet to done that's coming up in the future, and the videos you'll be seeing on that other stuff. So let's hop right into it. Now, first thing I had to do, I had, you can see on the side of this picture, a little shed that I had butted right up to my original 12 by 12 shed. I had pushed that out of the way and graded it, and then I got blocks in the ground. The 12 by 12 shed that was already there, I poured concrete piers for the shed to sit on. So I only needed 2 blocks for the addition on the outside away from the shed. So I was able to put my floor on half of the concrete piers that were already there, and then use 2 blocks for the other side. So then for the floor, I used 2 by 8s. I got my outside bands where they needed to go and made sure they were all level and made sure it was square. Once I got all of that done, then it was time to put more 2 by 8s floor joists in. And then once I got all the floor joists in where they needed to be, I did use hangers on both sides of the floor joist just for some extra support. Then the floor was done up to that point. It wasn't completely done because I still had to put sheets of plywood on. And as I was doing this, I have been working a whole lot of overtime at the shop with all the workflow that we have in here. And I do want to point out, if this is your first video or if you're new to the channel, I do a whole lot of gun content. Don't do as much of it now, but I still do some gun content. I do all my own stuff and everything. And I've had a lot of people message me through either YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or whatever, asking if I was available yet to do some of the stuff. Right now I'm still not able to do it, just if you're wondering, because all the workflow, and I've been trying to keep up with work here at the shop and trying to do all this stuff. I just finished a pool deck that I did on my pool, and I'll put that link in the description, and you can check it out right here. But I did that, and I started working on this shed, and I don't get home until like almost 8 o'clock at night, so I have like an hour of daylight to get all this done. So it's taken me forever to get all of that stuff done, and I've been working at it for months and months and months, and this is the point I'm at now. So because it's going to take so long to do this shed, or for me to do this shed with the time that I have to do it in each day, I waited to get all of my plywood. I didn't really have anywhere to put the plywood because you shouldn't let it get wet. So I didn't have anywhere to store it until I got to the point where I was able to put all this plywood on here and cover it up so I wouldn't have to worry about water getting to it. So I waited to get all of the plywood I needed all at the same time. So I got the floor to this point, and then I started working on the walls. So, and because this is an addition and not a complete shed, I only needed to do 3 walls, since I could just attach it to the side of the shed that's already there. And it is a 1-angled roof, so all 3 of these walls are completely different. So I started on the back wall, which was the shortest. I did use 2-foot centers, in case you're wondering. 16 is standard, but you don't really need to do that in a shed. So I went with 2-foot centers, got the back wall completely done. That was the simplest. Then I started working on the front wall. The front wall was a foot taller than the back wall for the one angle roof that I'm doing. But the one thing that made it different was I wanted to have a walk-in door on this wall. On the other shed that I had, I did have like two little barn doors, and I am going to be doing vinyl siding on this. I've already started, but it's taken me a while with the time that I have to do it. I'll do a video on that later. But what I opted to do was cover up those doors with vinyl siding. I've had a lot of people tell me that you probably won't like that eventually, but that's what I'm going to do, and sometime down the road I might change that a little bit. I don't know. But we'll see how that goes. But I wanted to cover that up and put a walk-in door so there was not two entrances into the shed. You'd walk into the door, and if you needed to get the mower out, the barn doors would still be there, and you just have to open them from the inside. So I did want a walk-in door, so I had to frame that into the wall. I'm not really going to spend too much time talking about how you frame a walk-in door in a wall, because there's plenty of videos on that. So we won't really get into that, but I did do a walk-in door on that wall, so I had to frame that in there. Then I needed to do the side wall opposite of the shed. That was more difficult because you have to cut your studs on the top on an angle of whatever your angle is, and they're all going to be different lengths. So I got all that done. So then all three of my walls that I needed were framed. Then once I got to that point, I was ready to go ahead and get roof rafters, which I used 2x6 roof rafters. I got my roof rafters, and then I got all the sheets of plywood that I needed for this whole thing. I got all of that, then put the plywood down on the floor and got that completely done. Then I was able to start sitting the walls on that and getting them square and leveled, getting them how they should be. If you're wondering why in some of these pictures it looks soaking wet, is because, of course, the day that I tried to do this, it started pouring raining. So, and I had already just put the sheets of plywood down, so I was like, I got to get this knocked out and get it over with. So it was pouring down raining on me while I'm trying to do this. So that's why some of these pictures, everything's soaking wet outside. So I got the plywood down on the floor, got that done, got the walls up, and then started working on putting my rafters up where they needed to be. Once I got the rafters in, then it was time to put plywood up on the roof. And then once I got all the plywood done on the roof, then I started working on the walls. The back wall and the side wall got completely covered up. And then the front wall, I put all the sheets of plywood on that, and then I just had to cut it out for the door jamb. Then once I got to that point, I did have what's called rolled roofing. It's not shingles. It's like shingle, but it's in a huge roll, and you can get it like 3 feet wide. I had that on top of the shed, the original shed. But what I wanted to do when this whole thing was done is put shingles on the whole top. So I left the rolled roofing there, and then I put roofing felt over the whole entire thing. And the shed is 12 by 24 now. It's essentially two 12 by 12 sheds right beside each other. So I put roof and felt over the whole entire thing. Then once I got that done, started working on the walls. I did wrap this with house wrap since I'm planning to put vinyl siding on. And if you're wondering, I did most of this completely by myself. And if you have ever done it, you know what I'm talking about. But if you try to put house wrap on any kind of structure by yourself, and it's the slightest bit windy outside, it's the biggest pain in the butt you will ever have in your life. But I got that all done and got all the house wrap wrapped up. At that point, then I put my door in and sealed that up, and then I was able to put everything in the shed that I needed to. One of the big reasons I wanted to do this addition and make it bigger is because I had a whole lot of crap under my house, and it's a real big pain in the butt crawling up under there, getting boxes, taking them out all year long. big pain in the butt, so I wanted to add on to the shed, make it twice as big, and be able to get all of that crap out from under my house and keep in the shed. So if I ever needed anything, I could just walk in the shed and get it. Then once I got it sealed up, I was ready to put the shingles on the roof. So I got all the shingles done on the roof, and then it was time to start with the vinyl siding. If you're wondering, I'm not really going to talk that much about vinyl siding in this video, but I am planning on doing an exclusive video just on vinyl siding, how to do it, what's the easiest way to do it, is it expensive, that kind of stuff. I'm going to do that in a whole nother video. So stay tuned for that if you're interested in that. But I did start doing vinyl siding on the shed. I'm going all the way around it so it looks like one big shed. At the point of filming this, I'm still in the middle of doing the vinyl siding on the shed. I'll be able to get both the side walls all the way done complete and the back wall all the way done completed. And then on the front is going to take a little bit longer because I've got to cut my siding to fit around the walk-in door and the barn doors, and I'm putting the siding on the barn doors. So you do have a starter strip on the bottom, and all of this is nailed on. I use roofing nails with the big head. I'll talk more about that in the other video, but you got to put a starter strip on, work your siding all the way up. You got to use corners on your corners and J-channel to fit around all the other edges of your siding. So I've got a ton of work to do, even though it's a relatively small shed, but well, it's kind of a big shed, but a small structure. But with just me doing it in the limited time that I have, it becomes a big pain in the butt, and it takes me forever. But I'll have to work around that. I'll have to work around both of those doorways, and then before I get all the way up to the top of the shed, I am going to have to stop, because one of the things that I'm going to do that I haven't started yet, which I will also do an exclusive video on, is I'm going to do an overhang on the shed. Now, the shed is a one-angled roof, like I told you before, and the overhang is going on the front of the shed, and it's going to be the whole length of the shed. So it's going to be 24 feet long, and it's going to stick out 16 feet. So I've got a 12 by 24 shed, and then the overhang that I'm going to do is a 16 by 24. So before I get all the way up with the siding on the front wall, I'm going to put a band across the top. Then I'm going to dig for posts on the other side where the other end of the overhang will be. I did get a auger attachment for my tractor, which I'll show all of that in another video coming up. I've got a lot of videos planned throughout this whole thing. I did get one of those. I am going to dig 3 holes for the posts. I'm going to make special brackets to fit in the concrete piers as I make them, that the posts will attach to, and then I'm going to make a beam that goes all the way across. Once I get the beam done, then I'll be able to run the roof rafters on that for the overhang, and then put plywood up, and then put the same shingles on top of that. Then I'll be able to finish the vinyl siding to finish up the whole entire shed. And once I get to that point, it essentially pretty much is completely done. And I'm going to be, I've been thinking about putting an exhaust fan in there, because if you have a shed, if it's really hot outside and you have like no ventilation in your shed, it gets like outrageously hot. I remember one of these past days in Virginia, we had like 2 solid weeks of 100-degree heat, or really close to 100-degree heat. And when I get home from work and open that door, it's like walking into hell. So it was really awful heat. So I'm thinking about installing an exhaust fan. Going back and forth between putting it in the wall or putting one on the roof. I'm still thinking about what I'm going to do with that, but if and when I do that, there will be another exclusive video on that, how to install it, how I did it, stuff like that, how it works. And then once I get to that point and the whole entire thing's done, I am putting the white wire shelving in there, and I'll do a video on how I cut that and how I make it work and how you do all of the install of those shelves. It's relatively cheap if you get big links from Lowe's or Home Depot. So I'll do a whole video on how you do all of that. So that covers the whole entire shed, what I've done to it so far, how I did it, and everything that's coming up next. I got a bunch of videos that I'm going to do as I keep going with the shed, showing in depth of how I'm doing different stuff. So that is how I built my shed. If you found this video interesting, be sure to give me a like and let me know all your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do be sure to get subscribed. I'm starting to do a whole lot of videos like this showing on different stuff that I'm doing. I used to do pretty much just exclusive gun content, but I don't really have a whole lot of time to do that anymore because I've got other stuff going on. I still very much like firearms and I'm still doing stuff. I don't have the time to do that constantly all the time, and it did get kind of old with pretty much doing the same thing over and over. I'm trying to do different stuff, but I am going to be doing a lot of videos, how-to videos, stuff like this on different stuff that I'm doing, random stuff, but I'll still have the occasional gun content coming on. So if you are a gun content viewer, be sure and stick around because I am going to have gun content still going on. And if you like videos like this, I've got a lot more coming, so stay tuned for that. Be sure to get subscribed, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.